Hello, everyone. So nice to see you. I'm going to speak in favor of inactivity. Since we had a lot of time for inactivity. We had a busy time, of course, traveling around and meeting with people and stuff. But there was a lot of nice unstructured time. And, the spiritual path requires devotion and patience. And really, when we're just in our everyday lives, it's so easy to kind of lose track of both. When I say patience, I mean patience for the presence of God to come to us. And it takes space to do that. It takes the willingness to create space in our lives through some inactivity, not low energy, but through high energy inactivity, and to allow the presence of God to come to us and to allow that devotion to flow through us. Yesterday a few people met us at the airport and we came back and chanted and meditated. It was really nice. And it reminded me of how important it is to chant with a flow as opposed to just a rhythm. And both are done. But if you really want to touch devotion in your chanting, you want to not do it with the anticipation of, I already know this chant, I already know how it goes, and therefore I'm going to do it in the certain way that I always do it. And, in this case, it was Door of My Heart. So when we sing Door of My Heart, like, okay, I know this chant already. And so it goes like this. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart. Oh, it's like I know the rhythm, I know the words. Open wide I keep for thee. It's almost as though in the rhythm, there's not an opening of the heart or something. It's hard to fully explain. But definitely with rhythm, there's a pre-anticipation of what is already there. It's as though when we are praying to God and we pray knowing what we're going to say already and what we expect Him to say back to us, it's almost as though when you're having a conversation with someone and when they're not really listening because they're just kind of waiting to say what they want to say and they're not really listening to what you're actually saying. And that's how God feels with us. So God is talking to us and we're like, yeah, wait. I just want to say what I want to say. And let me just say this. And so we I know what you're going to say because, I've read the Gita a million times, and so I know what you already say. But I got to say what I want to say and what I want and that kind of a thing. And so this pre-anticipation, it gets in the way because we're living in our minds. It's our minds that pre-anticipate. It's our minds that are thinking. And this is where inactivity comes to us in a very helpful way. To take that space where we don't have to do anything for anyone else. We don't have to do anything for ourselves. You can sit in a room. We took this seclusion for a week. And very, very helpful to seclude without anybody else around. 1 week might sound daunting if you've never done it before, but it's really not enough time. But, you can wake up in the morning and truly say, God, what do you want me to do today? Now, we should be able to do that in our lives every day anyway. But when we practice in something like a seclusion, that reminds us how to do it. And so you wake up, you say, what do you want me to do today? And you really mean it. It's not like, what do I want to do? God, what do you want me to do? I agree. It's what do you want me to do today? And then have the patience to hear the answer. And have the calmness to hear the answer. Really, it takes calmness to hear God's answer. And if we're always revved up with our opinions and revved up with what, I gotta do this, kind of the Martha activity, when we're revved up, we can't feel. We can't feel with calmness what's trying to be communicated with us. And so we really need to find a way, whatever way it is for you, to be able to get to that calm place. But that calm place comes very often through giving yourself some inactive time and taking that vacation when you should take it, or taking a day of seclusion when you can take it. Really think about that in your life. Do you have that space to take that? And when we're given it, it's a gift. Because very often we have families and we have obligations and responsibilities, and there's always someone in our space, and we just don't have time. And even though we might feel like, well, I'm pious and I'm thinking of God as much as possible, to not take that step further and say, I really have to just go away for a day and do this thing over here. I love you, but I really want to do this over here. And maybe you have to say it's an errand or something that gets you away. Who knows what you have to say? Sometimes people just don't understand the need to be alone. And very often families don't understand this need. Why do you want to be alone? What are you thinking in there? Knock, knock, knock. But in order for us to place God as a priority in our life, we need to accept that it comes through aloneness. And Master said that seclusion is the price of greatness. And so just remember seclusion. And of course you can take an hour of seclusion and say, this is my seclusion. You can take a day, you can take a week. But take that seclusion as much as you can and allow yourself the flow of life to happen. Allow yourself to get into that flow rather than the pre-anticipation. If we're doing door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. And it's like, yes, I know, and the next word is door and of and my and heart. But we let go of the words, which we do know, and connect instead to the heart. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Then it's a singing prayer. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. And we mean it. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me, please. You see that we want to reinvigorate all the things we already know, because Ananda's fairly new here. We're only 3 years old. We're going on our 4th year. So in the beginning, when things are new, it's exciting. And then when you're on the spiritual path, year after year after year, if you find yourself getting bored or pre-anticipating and therefore, then you need to recharge on some level. Because life isn't about just having one new thing. This is new, that's new, it's exciting new, it's new. It's not about that. It's about going deeper. And we all have a guru that says go deeper. It means there's this spiral. And we revisit the same things over and over and over again. But we try and dig deeper and deeper. So just... you were saying something about the same thing. Anyway, when we're in a spiral, suppose this is an idea that's vertical and we're in a spiral with it. Same idea, but we're spiraling deeper into the idea, and so it can't just be on the surface all the time up here. Oh, an exciting new idea. I start out at the top of the spiral. Yay, what a great idea, what a great thing. I thought about that last year. Here's that idea again. I'm bored. The same idea keeps coming round and round. But if we're in the moment, then it's like, there's that idea again. God, how do you want me to think about that idea now? I see that idea differently now. Now that I've been meditating this long, now that I've been going deeper than I normally go, I see that idea in a different way now. I see it differently now. I feel it differently now. It's not boring, because even though I've seen it a million times now, it's not boring. I've mentioned before how that the Festival of Light that Swamiji does, that we do here, we try and do it about every 6 weeks or so. And I remember being in Palo Alto and a few friends saying, oh my God, I just don't want to hear that again. And I thought, really? Because I don't know, for me it wasn't about hearing it. It was about feeling it and experiencing it. If it's just about hearing it and comprehending it, I understood what that was. But to allow something to be alive means feeling it and experiencing it. That's why it's so beautiful how Master says to be with God. It's not about belief. Yeah, I do believe there is a God. It's about experiencing God. And when we experience, it is ever new. Master said, ever new joy. Because it's ever new. If our energy is low and our minds are dull, we're going to want that new thing all the time. Because we need to be stimulated and we need to be, like Dharmini said, clear. But we don't need to have it just that way. And until we start taking control of our own being with God, having our mind on God, you find that a lot of karma happens externally to give us that clear. So we're subconscious, we are not so aware of God, we are just kind of going along, and then something bad happens, and it's like trying to wake us up. But if you are living your life awake, if you're living your life aware, if you're living your life with this joy and love in your heart, then when this thing happens, you just don't experience it the same way. Its purpose isn't just to wake us up. It's to, work through some karma. I encountered a relative who, I haven't had a difficult time with this relative much at all. But, some of the ones you only see once a year, or not very often, and you're not in that much contact. And this person, I'm still not exactly sure what was going on in their minds. But when they were talking to me, I felt as though they were trying to zap me. And I don't know why, but this is what relatives do. And one person thought, well, maybe they were uncomfortable with spirituality or something like that, trying to see if they could get a rise out of me. But I remember while they were doing it, I was just thinking, is that person actually trying to get a rise out of me? I really couldn't tell. Now, when I thought about it later, I thought, yes. Now, normally when someone does that, we go, hey! But I just don't live with many people who are constantly trying to poke me or do anything. And so instead it was like, oh, I think that person's trying to do that. And so when you have distance from it and you're not in it, it's like, oh, if I were feeling more subconscious and lower energy and whatever, and that person did that, I might have been like really upset, like, why are you saying that to me? And stop saying that. And, what's your problem? Did I do something that hurt your feelings? I might want to engage. But instead, it was just like, oh, I think that person's trying to get a rise out of me. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And, I was able to let it go. I wasn't even aware enough until later, after I wasn't around them anymore, to kind of contemplate and go, huh, maybe something happened. And I decided it wasn't worth it to discuss it. Some people you might want to discuss things with, like, now I see you every day. Do we really want to have a relationship where we're constantly poking each other to get a rise out of the other person? You may need to discuss it with someone if you're around them a lot. But if you're not, then, I wish you well. Go with love. And so we make those choices in our life. And I was glad that I had that reaction that way, because I don't think 10 years ago I would have reacted that way. But Kriya Yoga really works. Kriya Yoga really can put you in a space. Now, I wasn't out of touch with reality. I wasn't like, hello everybody, I'm floating above you all, and I don't relate to anything. But, I'm not immersed in negative behavior. And so when we're not immersed in negative behavior, the negative behavior is strange. And we can do that. God is so there for positivity. He is pouring the light into us. Dharmarajan was just listening to a tape and reminded me, Swami said, you can really assume most people at Ananda are saints because they're seeking God. Who all is seeking God? Now, you can be pious and loving God, and you're doing your daily whatever you do. But are you seeking union? Are you trying to touch God and become one with Him through a spiritual practice like Kriya Yoga? That's what we're doing. And so Swamiji was saying we can assume that we're all saints. And the beauty of that is that then you can see your Guru Bhais in that light. And we can see each other in the light. We can see each other as light and relate to each other that way. There's no need to relate to each other as we would in low energy, low consciousness family, like Dharmarajan was saying. There's no, we went back to Ananda Village. No one's acting that way with each other. And it's not because they're like trying to be holier than thou or anything like that. Everybody's taking responsibility for living in the light, in their own, with God. And, sometimes people misbehave. Of course, it always happens, no matter where you are, what group you are. But if everybody else is, working on themselves and one person's having a bad day, then you just kind of go, oh, I guess that person's having a bad day. But it doesn't mean, oh, that person's that way. It's just, okay, in that moment, they might be having a bad day. We all have bad days. And so there doesn't have to be a judgment about it and a persecution or anything like that. So it happens. But if each one of us take responsibility for living in that light, then when someone misbehaves, we can easily go, oh, I think they're misbehaving. Seems that way. I'm sorry that you're misbehaving. We want to make sure that our part, that we didn't play a part in it, that we have some responsibility. If we have responsibility, then we need to take responsibility if we've misbehaved, and then someone else misbehaves and we go, oh, they're misbehaving, ignoring that we've misbehaved, then that doesn't quite work. We want to take responsibility for our own misbehavior also. But we can live in that light. And so if we give ourselves space and patience for God to come, God's presence to come. Remember His presence. His presence comes as light. His presence comes as the Om vibration. It comes as that sense of peace. All of these things require space. When we're feeling peace, it's because there's enough space within for peace to exist. That calmness that can come, that intuition, in order to even hear God speak to us as wisdom, we need to have that space that allows Him to come to us, and that patience to hear it and not just hear our own boring thoughts. I mean, if we're going to get bored about something, let's be bored about our own thoughts. Because boy, are they repetitive. And it's like Dharmarajan was saying, how many lifetimes have I been stuck in this britti, We don't want to ask. It's a little depressing. But really, we have all the tools, we have all the abilities to be the saints that we want to be, and to have that space and to bring God into everything. And so let's go for it together. We were talking about this. I think I was saying it to Davy or something, but I was saying, being in Chennai is so nice because so many people here want God. And I said, it's kind of like, you want God? I want God? Let's find God together. Don't you think that's a good slogan for Ananda Chennai? You want God? I want God. Let's find God together. So let's do that. Let's find God together. That's the benefit of spiritual community. And anyway, it's so nice to be back here. It's very hard to figure out the differences between the U.S. and India, so I don't try and fully do it. But all I know is as soon as we landed on Indian soil, I just felt so much more relaxed on a certain level. It's like when you're around a lot of people who believe in God, there's just a good vibration. And not that America is full of atheists or whatever, and Ananda Village certainly isn't. But there's something to say for a culture that is so immersed in belief of God or the experience of God. This is where guru discipleship originates, at least in this yuga. And so guru discipleship originates from here. And I'm sure that's why your souls chose to be born here as opposed to very possibly last life. You never know. You just don't know where you were before. But this time, it's in a place where people just get to be in a culture that loves God. And not that everybody does, not that everyone has that, but this is where it originates. And so it's like we're more at the core. And for the soil of this land to have that experience of guru disciple just immersed in its soil for millennium, it's a deep blessing. So I'm sure you all do feel that deep blessing. But as soon as we landed on Indian soil, it was like, whew, even seeing the Indian stewardesses and being packed on a plane and everything, it was just like, So, I don't know how long God is going to want us to be here, but I'm certainly happy. And I think I told everybody before we left, I just got my lifetime visa. Dharmaraj already had it, so who knows? You just never know where God is going to put you. But the nice thing is when God puts you where you're supposed to be, you find happiness there. You can really feel happy. And so we both feel very happy being here and being able to share with all of you, and I mean all of us together, this beautiful path. So God bless you.